Denbigh Mental Asylum was constructed between 1844 and 1848 with the intention of providing care for the mentally ill in Wales. The facility was designed in a Gothic Revival architectural style, with sprawling wards and intricate stonework that lent an air of dignity to the institution. At its peak, the hospital could house more than 1,500 patients, and it provided employment for many residents in the surrounding area. Over time, however, the treatment of patients within the asylum began to decline, and the once noble institution became a place of despair and anguish. By the mid-20th century, the reputation of Denbigh Mental Asylum had suffered considerably due to the numerous reports of abuse, overcrowding, and poor living conditions for the patients. The facility was eventually shut down in 1995, and the buildings were left to decay, their windows shattered, and their once proud facades crumbling under the weight of time and neglect. As the years have passed, stories of the paranormal activity within the asylum have spread, drawing the attention of paranormal investigators, urban explorers, and thrill seekers alike. This is the story of the ghostly residents of Denbigh Mental Asylum, also known as the North Wales Hospital, which stands in ruins today. So folks, lock your doors, shut your windows, turn down your lights, and come with me into the other side.
I really don't feel good. This is getting a...
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
Located in the quaint Welsh countryside, the Denbigh Mental Asylum, also known as the North Wales Hospital, was once a place of refuge and healing for the mentally ill. Built in the mid-19th century, this once bustling medical facility has been abandoned for decades and now stands as a haunting reminder of the suffering that transpired within its walls. The asylum's long history is marred by tales of abuse, neglect, and unimaginable pain, and the spirits of those who sought solace in its halls are believed to linger, creating an atmosphere ripe for paranormal activity and ghostly encounters. The abandoned wards and crumbling hallways of Denbigh Mental Asylum have been the site of numerous reports of unexplained phenomena, including disembodied voices, footsteps echoing through empty rooms, and objects moving seemingly on their own accord. Paranormal investigators who have ventured into the depths of the asylum have recorded inexplicable sounds and captured images that defy rational explanation, fueling the belief that the spirits of the asylum's former inhabitants continue to dwell within its derelict walls. One of the most well-known spirits said to roam the halls is that of a nurse known as Nurse Roberts. The spectral figure has been reported by multiple witnesses who describe her as a woman in a nurse's uniform, appearing both solid and transparent. Nurse Roberts is often seen wandering the wards and corridors, as if still tending to the patients who were once occupied the rooms. In addition to the mysterious Nurse Roberts, visitors to the asylum have also reported encounters with a patient named Lily. Lily is described as a young woman, often seen in the children's ward, who appears to be searching for something or someone. Her presence is said to be accompanied by an overwhelming sense of sadness, and those who have witnessed the apparition often report feeling a deep empathy for the young woman. Another unsettling account involves a ghostly figure known as the Faceless Man. The Faceless Man is often seen lurking in the shadows of the asylum, his features obscured by darkness. Witnesses describe him as a tall, gaunt figure with a palpable sense of menace that seems to emanate from his very presence. The identity of the Faceless Man remains a mystery, but his chilling aura has left an indelible impression on those who have encountered him. One particularly chilling account involves a group of paranormal investigators who visited the asylum quite recently to conduct a nighttime investigation. The team explored various wards, recording sounds and attempting to communicate with the spirits believed to inhabit the facility. As they made their way through the crumbling hallways, the investigators reported an overwhelming sense of unease and dread that seemed to permeate the very air of the asylum. The team's equipment began to malfunction, with batteries draining rapidly and recording devices inexplicably shutting off. As they continued their investigation, the team members began to experience physical sensations, such as the feeling of being touched or pushed by unseen forces. The investigators also reported hearing a chorus of disembodied voices, as if the spirits of the asylum were attempting to make their presence known. In another incident, a member of the team witnessed a dark figure emerging from the shadows of a long-abandoned room. The figure appeared to be wearing a patient's gown and was hunched over as if in pain. The investigator watched in horror as the figure slowly approached, only to disappear suddenly when a flashlight shone in his direction. In fact, back in 2008, a very popular British reality TV show and their crew spent a week staking out the asylum to carry out investigations. They even claimed that the place was cursed by witches and that thousands of ghosts reside inside. And here's another recorded incident in November 2017. A 22-year-old amateur investigator appeared on national news when she claimed she had captured the image of a ghostly caretaker while exploring the location after dark. She was walking through the facilities with 3 friends when she came across a derelict corridor. Despite hearing banging, talking, and experiencing cold shivers, it was not until she got back to her car and looked back at the photographs that she noticed she had captured an image of a ghostly figure. According to her, it was really scary in there, and she felt ghosts were present because she could feel the tension. As soon as she returned to her car to view the photographs again, she saw the ghost and immediately felt a horrible pain in the chest that went all the way down her arm. She believed it was the ghost of the caretaker that has been rumored to haunt his hallways. Despite being skeptical about what she would find, she left the asylum horrified after having her beliefs of the paranormal confirmed. Could she have seen Nurse Roberts? She added, "When we were in there, it was terrifying. Doors were shutting behind us and there was continuous banging. When I started taking photographs, I could see orbs and mist covering my screen, as though the ghost was getting in the photo. As soon as I saw the mist, I knew I had to get out of the asylum, so I ran out. But as I was running, I could still hear voices. However, as soon as I thought I was safe in the car, I saw the caretaker in the photograph of the corridor. My fear took over all over again." A similar incident happened a few years later in October 2020. Another amateur investigator was filming inside its grounds, panning her camera through the rundown and rubble-strewn interiors. After exploring the crumbling site, she uploaded the footage to her YouTube channel where she posts her investigations into reportedly haunted locations. A few weeks later, she was contacted by one of her subscribers, informing her that she had missed something in the footage. Upon reviewing the footage and screenshots of the evidence, it became apparent that she had caught something of a paranormal nature. The video shows her walking down the corridor with her camera moving from left to right, before the lens hovers over a doorway at the end of the hall. A shape, which she describes as the figure of a lady with black hair who seems to be dressed in an old-fashioned hospital gown, looms in a doorway before disappearing into the wall. This was actually captured during broad daylight too. And in November 2021, the long and dark history of Wales' first psychiatric hospital was revealed by a man who worked there for more than 30 years. In reality, he said, up to 1,500 patients, including children with learning disabilities, dementia patients, people with addictions, and many with epilepsy, lived at the sprawling facility alongside others with acute mental illness. Some of the patients were World War I soldiers, and about 50 still remained by the 1950s, badly traumatized by their experiences at the front. Overcrowding and staff shortages made conditions there really tough, said the former nurse, who has also written a book on its history. According to him, staff used to think people were possessed when they hadn't a clue what was really going on. As there was no form of treatment for mental illness up until the 1930s, the only treatments available in its early history were just employment and recreation. He said patients were routinely put to work in the hospital's gardens, laundry, or kitchen. Due to the lack of medical interventions during that time and lack of education and knowledge of caring for the mentally ill, many patients were also abused. He told of many treatments involving unregulated medication and electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, which was sometimes carried out without anesthetic. Patients who were given ECT were fully conscious when the treatments were first carried out. And once the electric shocks were administered, patients would shake so violently, sometimes dislocating their joints or breaking their bones. When this failed to produce results, lobotomies were carried out. This procedure involved drilling a pair of holes into the skull and pushing a sharp instrument into the brain tissue to sever the connections between the frontal lobes and the rest of the brain. This operation was, however, deemed too complicated and time-consuming, so a newer procedure called transorbital lobotomy was introduced, in which steel instruments resembling ice picks were hammered into the brain through the fragile bones at the back of the eye sockets. Shockingly, patients were not administered anesthetic. They were knocked out before the operation using a portable electroshock machine. The fatality rate for such an invasive treatment was 15%. And when doctors began investigating long-term outcomes, they found out that 1/3 of the patients were significantly worse off. And according to a former neurologist, lobotomies were really no subtler than a gunshot to the head. It may be no wonder that the asylum is haunted, as so much suffering has happened in it. Many believe the existence of its ghosts is due to the severe emotions experienced by them when they were alive. Asylums back then were known for being the worst place one could be sent to, and any stay rarely ended well for the patients, with many being treated until they died. The strain on the asylum to manage its patients and treatments, mixed with its chronic overcrowding, saw a drop in patient care, and news about violent patients murdering other patients began to emerge. In 1995, the hospital was closed for good. It is said that its doors were closed after the death of many patients. Soon after the hospital's closure, ghostly experiences began to circulate, with the most commonly reported being strange noises such as footsteps and banging sounds coming from empty areas. Over the next 25 years, many witnesses swore they continued to hear laughter, screams, footsteps, and loud bangs coming from the hospital. The majestic building, which was once built to restore health and well-being, sadly met its demise in April 2018, when a huge fire tore through the building and its grounds only a few days after a multi-million plan was approved to turn the abandoned Victorian asylum into 2 luxury hotels and homes. Investigators could find no clues as to how the fire started. Today, the site remains in ruins.
I really don't feel good. It's not getting a lot.
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.